What's going on, everyone? Dana White Contender Series Week 6 preview. And even though we've been on a hot roll in terms of these UFCs and Bellator, did actually get a top ticket play wrong last week on Contender Series. Again, I would have hedged out had it been a 5-fight card. We made it all the way to the end. Ended up being a 4-fight card, 1 cancellation. Started off well, got the first 3 wrong, and that one wrong. And I mean, listen, this is fight predictions. Anything can happen. So it's not like I'm worried we got 1 fight wrong. I'm just saying Contender Series is super low level. And so you got to kind of expected on a lot of these spots. So anyways, regardless, we think we got the right lean on these guys. So let's preview it and figure out where we're going to go with the tickets. Patrick White versus Gennaro Valdez is the first fight on the card. Patrick White, Gennaro Valdez is a minus 560 favorite. Some places as high as a +7 or a minus 700. Patrick White like plus 400. We completely missed it. So it opened up at even money, right? Patrick White was a minus 105. Valdez was a minus 125. Valdez is the pick day and night. No idea why it opened up even. Unfortunately, UFCs, there's a lot of money circulating and the lines are a week in advance, a couple weeks, well, more than a week in advance, maybe a month in advance. So what ends up happening is someone could pound the line and it only moved 20 points. Contender Series line comes out late. Most books don't even carry Contender Series. And someone even puts a decent amount of money on it. Not even a huge amount of money, decent amount of money, moderate. It's going to pound the line. That's what happened here. Anyways, the wreck on Patrick White is he's fighting out Alaska FC, so it's very hard to gauge who exactly he is fighting. This was very, very comical to go back and watch. If you just go on Fight Pass and you punch in Patrick White, you can find a lot of these Alaska FC fights, and it's like, oh my God, who the hell are these? They're no idea how to fight, right? Potentially in the cage fighting for the first time. Like they may have just showed up at the venue and been like, I'll fight, hands up. No, definitely don't go to a gym. And I would say about 80% of my audience would kick the shit out of these guys, right? Those are the opponents. So those are the guys he's beating in the first round. It's really not all that impressive. When you go beyond his record, it's just soft. From what we do see on tape, he's a southpaw striker. He's got some decent hands, stands his ground pretty decent. But it looks like he's overall pretty slow with his striking. Takes his time a little bit too much. But the guys he's fighting, they're just flailing terrible shots at him. He waits them out, little leg kick on him, little right hand, puts them over. With this Gennaro Valdez, like he's undefeated 9-0 for a record. I mean, he looks like a decent enough prospect. I have seen him fight on Lux Fight League a few times because we air it over on Fight Network, so I've had to work the events. And he's a Mexican submission ace. A lot of the times we think about these Mexican fighters, they're brawlers. They're going to step in the pocket. They're going to put those granite chins on display, and they're going to let their hands go. They always have these good technical boxing. It's not that he can't strike. It's that Valdez does his best work on the ground. I mean, he goes in there, he'll push you up against the cage, he'll use a double leg takedown to just suck the hips out. Once he establishes top pressure, he's got a nasty submission arsenal. For a guy that shows third round finishes, first round finishes, last 3 fights have all been first round finishes, it looks like he's got good cardio as well. I mean, this Miguel Arzamendi, who's not even that bad of a fighter at all, he trucks right through him in the first round, and he's fresh as a daisy afterwards. Edgar Diezman Guzman, that one, doesn't even really pose any threat to him, but it's the manner in which he's going out there and getting the takedown. So my only problem with Patrick White is he's fighting out of Avalanche Wrestling in Alaska. It's the same camp that provided Carlton Minus, who, as it turns out, has no ground game. It's also the same camp that produced Euros Medic before he went over to King's MMA. And also, the guy has no ground game. This fight's going to hit the ground at some point. Patrick White's going to be absolutely lost. As far as stand-up goes, he could catch him, sure, but he's also going to be at a significant speed disadvantage. So, listen, I got Valdez, but at this point, we've missed the line, and you now have to top ticket him. Just remember, he was a 50-50 fight at the beginning of the week, and now he's your top ticket lock of the week at a 7-1 price tag. It's just greasy is all I'm saying. But Valdez should absolutely go through him. Shante Barnes versus Joseph Holmes. This is another one. I mean, I will bet on Valdez, don't get me wrong. But this Holmes situation got me feeling irky. He's a minus 450 on most books. The comeback on Shante Barnes is plus 350. And the reason that is Barnes has just fought abysmal competition. And it's one thing to fight abysmal competition in Alaska FC, which is terrible. But in Barnes's case, he's been hanging out in like the Tennessee, like Arkansas region, and has officially debut 0-1 wins. Second fight 0-2. He gets submitted in the first round. But then 1-12, 4-21, 0-6. The 6-5 draw. By the way, the 6-5 draws against this Aaron Mays. Okay, Mays. That was his first fight in 6 years, and he was 38 years old. So that guy fought into a draw by the simple basis that he wasn't 1-24. Or he wasn't 2-16. Like the first time he even fought, not even a step up, just like another shitty guy. Oh, results in a draw. Jay Ellis, 1590. And then his last time out, Eric Lozano is actually not all that bad. He does have a 13-17 record, but banger. It's just he's older, and at this point, he's taken a bit of damage. So Shante Barnes, again, he's one of these guys, if you stand in front of him, he could land something. His striking doesn't seem all that bad. I believe I actually called Patrick White a southpaw. I may have had that confused. I believe Shante Barnes is a southpaw. And again, he's one of these guys that's rangy enough, could use that length from the outside, but his grappling just seems like a total unknown. Not only is his grappling a total unknown, well, his only pro loss is by a 49-second submission to an 0-2 opponent. So we're assuming his ground game shit. And then his cardio. Again, there's one thing to say with Valdez last fight. Oh, he's coming out of these round fresh as a daisy, pushing an absolute hectic pace, mounting these guys, pounding them, catching them with the rear naked choke, and then jumping up and bouncing around. In Shante Barnes' case, like, there are all these quick finishes over guys that are not good at all. Just not enough that we can get out of it. He was supposed to fight Cody Brunridge in this situation, and Brunridge would have just absolutely trucked right through him because he's a guy that wrestled collegiately and has a decent enough ground game and a decent enough cardio that he would have just dragged him to the ground and pounded him, probably finished him in the first round, if not the second or third round, for sure. Brunridge would have been your 7-1 favorite on this card. Instead, you got Joseph Holmes coming in on short notice, and now our short notice replacement is a minus 350. So that's your first red flag on Joseph Holmes is, he is taking this fight on short notice. The other thing is, he's such a big price tag, not because we like him. He's a big price tag because that's how little faith they have in Shante Barnes and the level of competition that Shante Barnes is fighting. But again, if you look at Joseph Holmes, not all that good himself. Shows most of his wins by way of submission. However, doesn't have very good wrestling. Doesn't have a great ability to get these fights to the ground. And in fact, he's kind of tentative standing and will stay standing for the majority of these fights. Eventually, they do hit the ground. And when they do, he seems to outlast his opponent and kind of dig in a little bit deeper. This last fight against Dwayne Diggs is LFA 114. He actually fought at 200 pounds. So this fight's going to be at 185. So again, he can fight up, and Diggs takes him down in the first round. Diggs takes him down in the second round. The difference is Diggs gets tired. And when he gets tired, Holmes just has a more steady pace, right? Conserves himself better. That's why eventually the fight hits the ground. His opponent's tired. He picks up that submission. I would say this one goes very similar. I would say Shante Barnes is live in that first round. He's going to be landing shots. He's going to be looking to mix it up. But, he's 34 years old. He hasn't fought in 2 years, I believe. And he's just fought absolutely he did fight 9 months ago. He just fought very abysmal level of competition. Holmes, meanwhile, he also just fought 6 weeks ago, right? Picked up a solid victory. He's going to be in shape. His cardio seems to be better. His ground game seems to be better. He just needs to get out of that first round, and then we'll be able to catch Shante Barnes later on. So I got to go with the big favorite, but it just feels like these are supposed to be our top ticket plays. Valdez, I think he actually should just walk right through and do some good work here, but for Joseph Holmes, is he our second guy? Is he the guy that we're parlaying with him? If we parlay Valdez at 7-1 with Joseph Holmes at minus 450, we're not even getting our even money that we're looking for on a top ticket. So we still got to add a third guy to that, and we're increasing the chances that one of these guys shits in the apple pie. So possibly that I leave Joseph Holmes onto that second level just in case. Joshua Weems versus Fernie Garcia. Fernie Garcia is a minus 250 favorite. Joshua Weems is a plus 200. Yeah, I got to go with Fernie Garcia here as well. Agree with the 200. I actually like it more than I like Joseph Holmes. I guess we'll start with the underdog. Joshua Weems is just super reckless. He comes out here with a massive kick arsenal. Kick. Problem is, kicks aren't really all that good. He likes to throw a spinning back kick, but again, not all that good. And what happens is a lot of these kicks end up getting caught, and he'll just shake his leg out. But a few times he gets caught and he just falls to the ground. Once he's on the ground, especially off of his back, not very good. He's a go-getter, I'll admit. Like, he stays in your face, he's aggressive, and he throws a lot of strikes, right? He'll keep throwing, he'll keep kicking. One of these guys that seemingly doesn't feel pain in his shin, because you can block one, you can check one pretty good, and he just keeps kicking with it. So in one sense, the judges are going to like this style because he's going to be aggressive, he's going to be in your face, and he's going to be continuously looking to work. But again, it's another case of what does he do particularly well? And to that extent, I don't really know. Starts off his career 1-1, knocked down his second pro fight, strings together a bunch of wins, goes on a 4-fight winning streak, 3 of them win by submission, and then turns to pro boxing, makes his pro boxing debut, and gets knocked the fuck out. Comes back over to MMA, wins 2, again, a 0-11 opponent and an 0-4 opponent, back to boxing, knocked out again. Comes back to bare knuckle MMA. What is up? He's on the first Game Bread FC card, and it's an MMA fight, but it's bare knuckle. He takes on Sorry, no. First he goes straight up bare knuckle, beats Van Vo, wins 2 fights, and then goes his bare knuckle MMA match. Now this Isaac Wellis fight, it should be set up for him to win. He goes out there shooting takedowns. He's kind of wild with his punches, but the longer the fight goes, dude, he gasses out. And by the 3rd round, this Isaac Wellis is kicking his ass, takes him down, full mount, dude bellies down, and takes some nap. I'm pretty sure they're gonna stop this fight. There's 30 seconds left. And I don't know, maybe Wellis's hand was hurt and maybe the kid did do enough to just survive, but he was gassed out, very damn near TKO'd in a fight that he was doing fairly well until that point. Not a good look whatsoever, and he ends up squeaking out a split decision out of it. So now he's jumping in here with Fernie Garcia. My issue is that he seems non-committal to MMA, right? He fights a little MMA against awful opponents, and then all of a sudden he's doing pro boxing where he's getting jobbed out. He's 0-2, both losses by knockout. Then he's doing bare knuckle boxing, right? Then he's doing bare knuckle MMA, and still most of his wins are by submission. So yeah, I'm talking about he likes to kick and he likes to be in your face, but he seems to be a grappler who's just doing all these stand-up contests and not doing particularly well. Fernie Garcia, meanwhile, he's out of Fortis MMA. He's just one of these guys that continuously is getting better. Like he was a 6-4 amateur, really nothing all that spectacular, nothing to write home about. Starts off his pro career and actually wins a split decision in his debut, right? A 1-3 opponent, a 12-29 opponent, a 6-10 opponent, a 1-5 opponent. This is nothing to get excited about. Loses to Cody the Bison Freeman, who's 3-2 at the time on a split decision for an LFA on the LFA show. You know, Freeman's not bad, right? Takes on Marquis Smith, 3-4. It's another split decision. This time he gets the win. Like he's operating at a low level. And this is just 2019, right? But then he does turn the corner. And I think part of that is being in a world-class room like Fortis MMA in Texas and just continuously grinding. They say he's a very hard worker, and you do see he's putting it all together. This Jay Viola fight's another bullshit fight, okay? The guy's 45 years old. He's 27 at the time. His opponent's 45. And he's so lackadaisical. He doesn't really push for it. That's a worry in a spot like this because I think his opponent's going to be coming after him. You know, Weems is going to be throwing those kicks. Weems is going to be aggressive. Weems is going to be pushing a pace, and Garcia's a tad bit too relaxed. But go back and watch that fight. Like he just sticks him with a couple jabs, and Viola's face is wrecked. You've seen very few faces in MMA get busted like that off a few jabs in the first round. Like this kid actually hits hard. This next fight with Ryan Hayes shows up in great shape. ATT Portland representative, you know, and it's a hectic pace. They're both grinding. They're both grappling. And it's the same thing. Fernie just touches him up a few times, and this face is busted. And he lands a couple decent 3-punch combinations, 2 3-punch combinations. He tries to wrestle, tries to mix in the wrestling, tries to get after this guy. And his cornerman, Steve Ocho Peterson from the UFC, and Ocho and him are tight, right? But Ocho's just on his ass the entire time. You can hear it clear as day the whole time. Like, keep your hands up, like pushing him, grinding him. Garcia does exactly what he has to do. It's ruled a split decision, and it was announced as a split decision, but it was in Kansas, and they were doing live round by round scoring, and going into the third, all three had it 2-0 for Garcia. So I'm not sure how that becomes a split. And even then, it's announced in the arena as one judge 29-28 Hayes, total bullshit. Other two judges 30-27's Garcia. So I know he's had a lot of split decisions, but now you see, dude, he's turning the corner. He's getting better. And then finally, this Isaiah Batten Gonzalez fight. You know, it's an accumulation of that. This Gonzalez fight's an excellent fight. He's actually not that bad. Long, rangy, big, stiff jab on him and just sticks it in his face. Hard to take down, hard to deal with. But Garcia pressures him and uses his quick hands and uses his outside kick and tries to make changes in the levels. And Milicic is high on him, right? Milicic has him 2-0 going into the third. It's a good fight. It's a close fight. It's a competitive fight and a great learning experience. So he's supposed to fight on Paul Capaldo. Paul Capaldo's a stud. So that was going to be a tough fight for this kid. And now he takes on short notice replacement Joshua Weems. He should have the better cardio. He should have the slightly more refined technique, much bigger experience, fought in the better level for sure. And on top of all of that, he's going to end up trying to get this fight to the ground. And when he gets this fight to the ground, Weems is shit off his back. And that's going to be the difference maker. So I got to say Fernie Garcia is going to go out there and get the victory here. But again, we're operating at a real low level, so just keep that in mind. Co-main events, Daniel Barez versus Carlos Hernandez. The line is pretty much a pick 'em, I believe. At least it was when I checked earlier. Yeah, you can give Daniel Barez like a -110 or a -125. Hernandez either -110, or you might be able to get him at +100, depending on your book. So whatever, we'll just call that one a straight up pick 'em. I guess we'll start with Daniel Barez. He's from Spain, 32 years old, so he's one of these guys that's already well-rounded. He's already got a skill set. He's not coming to the UFC and getting better. Fernie Garcia is getting better incrementally, right? This guy, it's going to be more of a refined, skill set. Man, I don't mind what I see out of him. He's got balls, first and foremost. This guy's courageous. His first pro loss is Michael Seelander, who's a stud, Finnish stud, and he takes the fight in Finland and loses. Second pro loss is Manel Kopp, Spanish. They're both Spanish. The fight's in Spain, so no advantage. But Kopp now in the UFC was the rising champion. That's a tough fight. Chris Mia was the Bama champion, was undefeated, and it was in England. All of his losses are to good guys, and generally him going into enemy territory to make these fights happen. Again, his fourth pro loss, he fights the Polish fighter in Poland, and then he's turned the corner since then. He is still going to people's backyards, but he's starting to get the victories in these spots. I liked his fight with Jamie Powell, 6-0, gets the victory. Ryan Curtis, 4-0, gets the victory. Andy Young, it's for the Bama flyweight title. Andy Young pressured him pretty good, but you can see that this guy's an absolute banger. And again, he's super well-rounded. His grappling's not bad. It was specifically his top game. If he's on top, he'll threaten with submissions. He'll pass to the mount, and he's very good with some pressure, top-heavy guy. But he wants to keep the fight standing. He wants to swing and bang, super technical, got a nasty leg kick, has kickboxing experience as well. We're just talking about his MMA record, but does come from a kickboxing base. And again, one of these guys that's going to put it all together. The one fault, if we were going to fault him, is defensively off of his back. Not all that good. He's trying to set up arm bars and triangles, but he doesn't move his hips. He doesn't create space. He's not shrimping. He's not getting on an angle. He's not really a threat. So if he ends up on his back, he's going to have trouble. But as far as the fight stays standing, it'll go 15 minutes, and he'll be in your face chucking bombs the majority of the time. He's largely fought somewhat mediocre competition. We'll talk about his last two, Combate Americans 35 against Ivan Hernandez Flores. Flores is like half his size, man. Like, he was a tiny little guy. Not sure what weight class that guy should be in, but not this one. And sure enough, he just flatlines him in 2 minutes. You see where his striking's at. You see that he does have power. But this last fight with Jomel Camillo actually just fought for the LFA flyweight title, lost. Brazilian opponent. And in the first round, Camillo goes out there, shoots the takedown, and gets him down. And again, this goes back to what we're saying about he's not that good off of his back. Camillo wins the first round just off the basis of grounding him. Second round, Camillo is so gassed out. He's got nothing left in the tank. And to that extent, now he can't get the fight to the ground, so he'd shoot sloppy-ass takedowns. Barez would just stuff the takedown, end up on top, work a little top control. Then when the fight was standing again, he's out hustling him, he's out beating him. He wins a split decision, but that's total fraudulent. It should have been a unanimous decision, 29-28, but did lose the first round on the grappling. Lucky his opponent got tired. Carlos Hernandez's case, I don't think he's going to get tired. I think he's one of those guys that's going to be able to exploit that ground game, take the fight to the ground, but beyond that, keep pushing. So this kid was an amateur stud in that he went 14-2 as an amateur. He is the 2014 IMAF gold medalist. He defeated Charles Johnson, who's the current LFA champion and will be either on Contender Series or the UFC in the very near future. Then he lost, first amateur loss was the 2015 IMAF championships, and then his other loss is the 2016 IMAF championship. So he was one of these guys that competed at a very high level as an amateur, went 14-2. That's pretty impressive. Just turns pro, loses his debut, and I mean, who the hell size on the dotted line for their pro debut to take on Gustavo Ballart, like the Cuban national wrestling champion? Should fight at 115, but he's a little midget guy. But holy shit, man! Why would you take that? Like, you'd be a massive underdog, right? He's training at American Top Team. He's got all the boys with him. Everyone's high on this guy, especially at the time. This is your debut. And I'll admit, man, he gives him a go. He stuffs a few takedowns. He gets taken down probably 8 or 9 times, but he keeps getting up. His striking looks good. He looks very well-rounded. This is his pro debut, and it just looks like a very advanced skill set, but that's because of the 16 amateur fights. He's not just making his pro debut. He has fight experience. And because he was fighting for the IMAF stuff, it's multiple fights in the same day. It's different locations. You might be traveling the world in some cases. It's all good stuff. So he goes back to fighting shit competition after that, because that's what a young fighter should do. And he cruises in those lower level competition fights. His last time out, he's fighting on Trevor Wells, LFA 93. And Trevor Wells is another one of these guys. He's in good shape. He's out of a good camp, and he's got a legitimate skill set. Hernandez does an excellent job there. His cardio seems to be on point. His wrestling offense, whereas it's not great against Wells. Wells is a brick of a man and has good wrestling of his own, but he does manage to take him down. He manages to just... He seems a lot sharper than Daniel Barez in terms of the striking. I don't think I would say he's a better striker, and he's not above getting outstruck in the spot, but everything's going to be a little bit sharper. Everything's going to be a little bit quicker, whereas Barez is going to be pressuring him, swinging hooks, trying to be the pressure guy, stay in his face, push him backwards, and be effective. The difference here should be the wrestling. And I think Carlos Hernandez, a guy that's at a Valley Fight Systems, VFS over in Illinois, they're going to be ready to go. It's an excellent gym full of a bunch of talented young fighters. And Illinois' got a bunch of good wrestlers. He works with a bunch of good wrestlers. He's still young, 27 years old, improving. And whereas Barez at 32, that is the finished product version of him, and he got skills everywhere. This kid's still making those improvements. So the last time against Trevor Wells, he's good, not great, but that's a year ago. And the difference between 26 and 27 for a professional athlete who's training in a high-level room is all good stuff. Whereas Daniel Barez, meanwhile, is coming from fighting on the last time he fought was Tito Ortiz fought Alberto Del Rio on a Combache card 2 years ago. So he's not operating at a high level, and he's coming off a 2-year-long layoff, whereas the other kid's progressively getting better, just came off an LFA fight against a good opponent, and it's a 1-year-long layoff. That all has to just tilt the scales ever so slightly in Hernandez's side. So I think Hernandez is technically the underdog. He's plus 100. I'm going to agree with that. This is a dog or pass situation. There's no real dog here, so it's an even money or even money type situation, and we're going to take that even money guy, Carlos Hernandez. And that brings us to our main event, Shimon Smotritsky versus Mike Malott at 170 pounds. This is another one where we actually did miss the line because Mike Malott opened up as a plus 110, right? So you could have got him as an underdog. He's currently sitting as a minus 170. So he's almost a 2-1 favorite now. And Smotritsky, yeah, if you were planning on betting him and you bet him early, son of a bitch, you can get him at plus 150 now, which seems like a pretty decent price. It's not that I don't like Smotritsky. It's just he just seems a little young for me. He's only 21 years old, actually just turned 21 a month ago, not even a month ago, a couple weeks ago, he turned 21 years old. And it's very difficult to operate at an elite level when you're so young. I'm not saying you can't do it. It's just time and time again, we've seen these guys that they're just pushed a little bit too quickly. And then their bodies are not physically developed. Their maturity level is not physically developed. They don't have the actual in-ring experience. And they're kind of thrown to the wolves, so to speak. Even if he goes out here and he does get a win over Mike Malott and he signs a UFC contract, it's very difficult to build along a guy because even if you give him the worst guy in the division, he's still 30 years old and probably has 15 to 20 fights and earned his way to the UFC somehow himself. So they're not walkover opponents, and as a kid, that's kind of what he needs. He actually turns pro at 16 years old in Israel, right? And that's where he spends the majority of his career. But man, fights at 16, fights at 17 twice, fights twice at 18. Bellator goes to Israel. So they bring him on. He fights this Matan Levy, and he spends about 10 minutes of the fight in full mount, but does not put him away. In fact, doesn't even really do a whole lot from full mount. So he's touted as a grappler, but I don't think it's elite level grappling. Good grappling, solid grappling, not elite grappling. He's still very young at the time, right? The next time Bellator goes to Israel, well, they invite the kid back over and he gets a first-round TKO, but that's it. They never put pen to paper. They never signed him. They never did anything beyond that. You got some super kid. He's like 19 or 20 years old. He's 2-0 for your organization. Just got a first-round TKO. Didn't bother, right? So he actually leaves Israel briefly and goes to Russia, takes his last fight over in Russia against Sergey Yakovets, and split decision win. And it's like a gut check. Actually, kid shows some grit and some tenacity coming out on the other side of the one victorious. But you can see against a 30-year-old man, a strong Russian guy who come from a grappling base as well, he struggled mightily to get the fight to the ground. His wrestling is not good. He relies heavily on the outside trip. Body lock, takedown, outside trip. He's tall for the weight class, and what he'll try to do is just disrupt your base ever so slightly, peel you to the ground. But he's not physically strong enough to dig a double leg or a single leg or peel you off the cage or pick you up and slam you. And so Chase Hooper had the same thing. He came onto Contender Series, and it was like, oh man, his grappling's sick, dude. Okay, but now that he's in the UFC, how's he going to get the fights to the ground? Because the outside trip shit, it's not going to work anymore, right? Just grabbing a hold of the guy and falling to your back, like, It's not going to work anymore. Now you're going to have to take the guy down. And there, I think he's going to struggle. So you can see he's been working on his striking a lot as well. And he does show a couple knockout victories, but he can't strike for 15 minutes straight. What he can do is strike for a minute or two, and then he needs to try to go body lock takedown up against the cage. That all in the long run is going to cost him. I'd like to see him fight for LFA. I'd love to see him fight on a lesser promotion. Bellator really should have signed the kid and built him along the way they build all these standout collegiate wrestlers that they have on their show. But, they don't. They're not looking to improve this kid. They're just looking to have a fight out of it. The UFC, they could improve this kid. Instead, they're putting him in a mighty tough spot here, and he's taking on Mike Malott. So Canada's own. First of all, I got to rep my boy Mike Malott. Mike's a super good guy, man. He's actually born in Ontario, same province I'm from, and then moves to Nova Scotia, where my girlfriend's from, and he would actually attended Dalhousie University. Super smart kid, right? Before he had left Ontario, he trained with Crew Lin, who's like, I would say the top coach in Canada, but he was developing very quickly. Good kickboxing game, excellent kickboxing game, really. Competed in some local provincial stuff and was a good kickboxer, and then eventually goes and attends university over in Nova Scotia, seemingly leaving MMA behind, but no, links up with Titan MMA over there in down out east, and starts training with Peter Martel, who's like the top coach in Eastern Canada. His top training partners throughout this entire period is Pat Carroll, who's a very tough fighter, but Gavin Tucker, now in the UFC. He develops very nicely, submits Michael Imperato, who's a black belt, beats a couple low putts opponents, and they can't find anybody for him to fight. Martel's high up on this kid. Everybody that knows him from out east is very high up on this kid. They're calling him the next GSP. And I'm actually coincidentally matchmaking a promotion in Ontario at the time. Well, Mike's from Ontario. He'll be able to sell some tickets. He's a very talented fighter. They're saying they can't find anybody to fight him. So I find like the meanest, nastiest guy in Ontario, this Michael Karkula, top-ranked 145-pounder, BJJ black belt, smooth, undefeated, come from a karate base, like distance management, really good. This is like this is going to be the Canadian fight of the year. Like everybody's into this fight. Everyone's patting me on the back for pulling this one off. And the fucking guy Karkula actually pulls out of the fight like a week before, setting in rib injury, and then he actually ripped off a biker gang and never been seen or heard from since. I don't think he's dead. He's not dead. He's on the run though, but he never fought again and doesn't have any social media and none of his friends or family. Like he just crazy world. Where I'm going with this story is I hacked on this Alan Wilson guy, who by the way, sadly enough, is dead now. Died of like an infection a few years after this fight. But Malott just rips right through him. First round TKO. Now it's like, holy shit, we got something on our hands. World Series of Fighting's coming for this World Series of Fighting Canada show. We send Mike Malott down there. He's taking on Hakeem Dawodu, who this is going to be a walk in the park, right? Hakeem Dawodu is strictly a stand-up guy from Alberta. Mike Malott's just going to take him down and run right through him. And Mike Malott did take him down, but Hakeem got up, and then Hakeem absolutely blew his head off. And that was the beginning of the end of this magical future GSP story, at least until today, right? Hakeem knocks him out. After Hakeem knocked him out, he took off 1 full year. He resurfaced for Bellator. He fought Thomas Dieng. He 10-8'd Thomas Dieng in the first round, and he completely fell apart, lost rounds 2 and 3. That's why it ended up being a majority decision. Majority draw, sorry. Then after that, he took 2 years off, came back against Craig Shintani, punched him out in 36 seconds, then took 3 more years off before his last fight against Solomon Renfro. Why that was is that he had gotten some type of like whiplash. There was an issue with his neck, basically caused him to have vertigo, basically lost all of his balance. And so after he graduated from Dalhousie, he left Titans MMA and he moved to Sacramento. That's why he's at Team Alpha Male. He started out just as a regular fighter there pursuing a dream. But what he realized while he was down there was his body wasn't going to allow him to compete physically. So that's why he fell back into more of a coaching role. It's very similar to Chris Holdsworth, who won the Ultimate Fighter and was an absolute stud. Robert Drysdale, BJJ black belt, like he's going to be a factor in the UFC, but he had concussion issues, right? So Holdsworth's actually a coach at the gym now as well. Malott kind of falls into the same thing, but he never does quit. He keeps going to the chiropractor. He gets his neck adjusted. He eventually figures out what the problem is, and it does allow him to compete. However, in the Solomon Renfro fight, you saw where he doesn't move his head a whole lot on the center line, and a good counterpuncher is going to catch him. Renfro has him in all sorts of trouble in that first round. But credit to Mike Malott, he recovers. As soon as he does recover, he's able to take him down and get the submission rear naked choke. And that's where Malott shines the most now. His journey started off as a striker, but once Hakeem knocked him out, that changed things. The Thomas Dieng fight, he got a hot start, but he started getting touched up. It changed things. Renfro had him all types of rocked. It changes things. His best path now is get these fights to the ground. You're out of alpha male. Your wrestling is vastly improved. You're a big enough body at this weight class, even though, he's better at 55. At 170, he's gonna be okay. And once the fight hits the ground, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he's a good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He actively competes in competitions, and I've seen him take on Ryan Dixon, another black belt, and just buzzsaw the guy a minute and a half, 2 minutes, right? Like, he's operating at a very good level. Rear naked choke is his favorite move, and if he takes the back, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Whereas I don't think he's the striker anymore. He's going to have to get back to his striking here against Smotritsky. He's going to have to use that striking where this kid is not going to be able to take you down, stuff those takedowns, stuff those outside trips, box this kid up, use those kicks to the body, slow him down, and then when he's a little bit tired, not as wily, that's when you take him down. Shyman's not great. Like, again, a lot of these guys are good at jiu-jitsu, they're good grapplers, but they like being on top, right? Shyman's good on top. Shyman's not great on his back. And that's where Mike Malott's going to have a lot of success with it. So I understand the line movement for Mike Malott because I got him myself. Where I don't want to top ticket him is the main event, so I'm probably going to just end up top ticketing him and then give myself an option of what I want to do at the end of the night. So I think you go Gennaro Valdez and Mike Malott on your top ticket. Your second ticket's going to have Fernie Garcia. Your third ticket's going to have Carlos. You know what? Is Joseph Holmes really going to be our PRP play? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So Mike Malott, the only reason he's top ticket here, because it's going to be a good close fight, I think, is because he's main event, right? Let's not get that aside. I like Carlos Hernandez, but he's an even money play for a reason, so we're not going to put that one very high up. I think Fernie Garcia has his way here. But Weems is a bit of a go-getter. You never know what the judges might think. Holmes is untrustworthy, and Valdez should roll. So we're going Malott and Valdez at the top. Yeah, the second line, Fernie Garcia. The third line, I guess we go Joseph Holmes, and then the PRP would have Carlos Hernandez. But on a personal level, I feel like I like Carlos Hernandez more than I like Joseph Holmes. Anyways, what can you do? To tell you the price on that real quick, and then we can get out of here. These fights start later on, so like in a few hours. So I need to get this video out. But a Mike Malott and Valdez would pay you minus 115, which is what we're looking for. Your second line is going to contain Fernie Garcia, which will give you plus 165, and it's 2 tickets. Your third ticket, I guess, is going to have Joseph Holmes, which is going to give you a plus 224. And then your PRP is going to contain Carlos Hernandez, and that's going to give you a plus 519. So in a perfect world here, we go 5 straight. And, geez, a 5-1 ticket. Actually, you're going to hit 4 tickets out of it, but they'd all be decent enough tickets. It's low level. There's obviously buyer beware and a lot of this stuff. Keep it small if you can. But at the same time, like I always say, what the hell else are you going to do on a Tuesday, right? Good luck to everyone. We'll talk